What's going on, guys? Iceman here. In that video you just saw in the beginning, that time lapse, yeah, that was a failed print. So the frame for the SLAPTrain's frame, or I'm sorry, the frame the frame for the SLAPTrain's controller wheel did in fact fail. So I did have to reprint that for him, but the wheel is gonna have to be redone as well because it did end up breaking when I was test fitting everything. So that will be redone before I send it out to him, so that way he's at least got a fully functional setup. But yeah, so this here is the wheel for the Xbox One controller. So I did 3D print these off. I did one for Monster Skills and one for the SLAPTrain. Yeah, so and I'll be sending these out to these guys, so they will hopefully have a video or something on them for their channels, which would be really cool to see them use these. But anyway, so for today's video, I just wanted to kind of run through the assembly and how they work. So this is fully assembled here. This is Peter's or SLAPTrain's. So the pivot goes on to the analog stick. There's the rack, and then the wheel itself just kind of works on there, and it pivots the rack back and forth, and then that would pivot on the analog stick of the controller. So that's how that essentially works. Basically, I'm just going to show the assembly and how I recommend putting it together. There's an optional step in there that I will talk about, but yeah. So basically, this is what it looks fully assembled. So for this purpose, I'm going to set this one aside. I'm going to use a bad bearing and a old. Alright, well, I don't think I have a bad bearing, but we'll use a bearing and the failed print for monsters. This frame, apparently, I just have bad luck. I'm just going to go ahead and show basically a basic assembly overview of it. So they will get the parts, and these two parts will be assembled together, but the way I did it is I have these snipper tools that I put in here, and I spread it open to put the joint in there, and then this is where the joint is for the analog stick, so it allows it to kind of move a little bit if it needs to on the analog stick. So these parts will come together for them, so they won't need to worry about that. The next step would be for when they get it, they will need to put this bearing into here, and they will need to glue it down. So I'm going to show you how I recommend doing it. You guys can obviously do it however you feel comfortable doing, but this is going to be my recommendation. So I actually have these two things. So this is Max Secure Bob Smith Industries super glue, and then it also have I also have Bob Smith Industries Insta-Set spray. So I recommend doing this just because it's a quick way of doing it, and it's really nice. So that's my recommendation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rack itself, or sorry, the frame, and I'm going to put some super glue on the inside of these walls, this wall and this wall. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And the reason why I recommend doing this, or at least everyone that makes it recommends doing this, is because this way it holds the bearing in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and dab some glue on the inside of the walls here. Just make sure you give a somewhat generous amount, but not too much, obviously. And then a little more on this wall. And like I said, all this does is it allows the wheel bearing to be held into place. So I definitely recommend doing this. But yeah, so then you take the Insta-Set, and you want to spray it onto the wall of the bearing. So I'm going to do that off frame here just because this stuff's it's greasy. So just go ahead and spray that, and then what you do is you just set the wheel bearing in there. And then you just let it go ahead and let it dry, so the Insta-Set basically cures it instantly. So yeah, that's how I recommend putting the bearing in. And once that's done, hopefully it's dry enough here. Kind of nervous, but you can see the inside of the wheel bearing moves freely from the rest of it, and I can actually use this wheel to kind of demonstrate how it freely moves without moving the wheel bearing. So you can see the wheel bearing itself does not move other than the inside joint, and it's a tight enough fit where it grabs that inside wheel bearing really nice. So that's how I recommend doing it. So then once that's done, you want to snap this onto the frame. So I don't have an Xbox One controller to demonstrate on, but this is going to be the way I'm going to recommend it for you guys. So you take the bottom of the frame and you snap it onto the bottom of the controller, and then you kind of, when it's snapped on there, you just kind of pull up on the bottom of this and you can snap it onto the top. So the way this was printed, let me get that out of the frame. The way this was printed, it allows it to flex. So since this is my garbage one, it allows you to flex it this way a little bit, so you can kind of pull. Since it's printed with the layers going this way, you're safe to give it a little bit of tug. Obviously not too much, because you'll get to the point where it will snap, but obviously you can give it a generous pull, as you can see me pulling it there. So once you do that, you get it snapped around the controller. Then you want to put this onto the analog stick, and then you want to snap the pivot into there. I'm sorry, the pivot down on the stick, the analog stick, and then the rack snaps down onto this portion of the frame. And once you do that, I guess I can just kind of give a quick demonstration of that as well. So that just snaps onto there. And then once you do that, you snap the wheel in, you push it in as far as you can, and there you go. That is the full final assembly of it. So once you get done, it'll look completely finished with like this one. So this one I don't have the bearing glued in, obviously. So when you get it, that's how you'll assemble it, and then you're free to use it. So if you guys want to let me know what you think of this, if you think this is a cool thing, if you eventually I'm hoping to have an Xbox One controller to kind of show these off, but hopefully I'm sorry, Slap and Monster will have videos up about them, so it'll kind of show them off there too. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. These were a lot of fun to make, and yeah, the time lapse caught the failure. I'll also show the time lapse of the second time the frame printed, and yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. So I do hope those guys enjoy what they get, and hope they get a good video out of it. But yeah, it's definitely a cool thing. I've always wanted these, but I haven't had an Xbox One controller since a couple years ago, probably now a year and a half ago. It's probably more like it. But yeah, that's basically it. That's the assembly, and hopefully it's a lot of fun for them. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did like this video, go ahead and like it. If you didn't, you can dislike it as well. And if you're new here, I do hope you subscribe to my channel. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you.